Yo, what's good? It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. The Detroit Pistons lose another one to the Milwaukee Bucks. But you know what? I think there are moral victories, and I want to dive into some of them in this video. If you enjoy it, smash the like button for me. If you agree, holla at me in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. Look, I've been saying it from the beginning. Outside of Cade Cunningham, Marcus Sasser is the second best guard on this Detroit Pistons team. And I know a lot of people have been clamoring for Jaden Ivey, and I think a lot of people who have been also rooting for Jaden Ivey to find success have also been rooting for Marcus Sasser to find success. But if you follow one of my previous videos, that I said that Marcus Sasser may end up being the long-term solution for the Detroit Pistons. I think some of y'all were like, yo, I think you might be going too far. And some of you agreed with my take. But essentially, I was saying that by the time both of their contracts are up, by the time Jaden Ivey is due for his extension, will his talent outweigh his usefulness in terms of the role that they perceive for him on this Detroit Pistons team? And what I meant by that was that sometimes guys are incredible talents, but they're incredibly talented in certain roles in which they can maximize that talent. And what I argued was that Marcus Sasser fits more of the role that you need next to Cade Cunningham. And this is what I want to illuminate in this game, that Marcus Sasser's ball control, his ability to manipulate the defense to get to his spots under control, under pressure, finishing, and just the reliability that it looked like he was the one in control. It is something that is not just needed next to Cade Cunningham, but I think is imperative. I don't think that we look at Cade Cunningham and really see a Tyrese Halliburton. He's far more maybe Luka Doncic. Like I was vying between the two, but I'm realizing that he doesn't have the level of ball security. And he's best when he's going downhill, looking for his own shot first, and then looking to play make after that. And so then you need somebody next to him that not necessarily is a Killian Hayes, who's a primary facilitator and not necessarily a scorer, but you need somebody who can score and get buckets and act as a primary facilitator as well. And I think this is the major piece that makes Marcus Sasser stand out when you look at the other guards on this roster between a Killian Hayes and a Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey can pass. He can deliver passes. But much of his reads are what we might call reactive, meaning that he sees the defense in a moment and then he reacts to it, hopefully faster than they can adjust. But he's hoping that in his reaction, he guessed correctly. And that's the major difference, is that he's guessing when he's reacting versus responding, because you're reading the defense in advance. You know what you're doing in terms of your ball manipulation, getting into the paint and getting to your spots that force the defense to either respond in really predictable ways that allow you to make a decision in a premeditated fashion, right? When you watched Marcus Sasser in this game, and I was appreciative that Monty Williams left him in down the stretch, because you got to see him go up against that starting lineup of the Milwaukee Bucks. He was in complete control when the ball was in his hand. I know there were times where the ball seemed like it was slippery, it was fumbling a little bit, but it didn't seem to affect him at all. Even if he fumbled the ball, dribbling it, he didn't lose it. He didn't then get pushed into a bad position. He wasn't throwing the ball errantly. He wasn't even taking ill-advised shots. And if I'm really honest with you, I feel like he's been too conservative over the past stretch of maybe 10 to 15 games since his last big game. That he's been holding on to the ball a little bit longer. He's been hesitant to let that ball go on his threes. And there was a part of me that wanted him to shoot it more, because every time he shot it, I thought it was going in. He has one of those types of jump shots, and he's in a level of control that he's always taking quality shots. He's never taking shots that you go, did you really need to shoot that right now? Was that really the best shot? He takes it in the flow of the offense. He still looks to set up his teammates while also being able to read when it's his turn to go. I like Jaden Ivey's talent. I do. I even like Killian Hayes' talent. For who they are, they're very distinctly different players that I think have a long future in the NBA. But when you start thinking about long-term next to Cade Cunningham, being able to see what Marcus Sasser has been able to do, when he's able to control the ball, get into the paint, break down the defense, and make the correct reads, you begin to see what you're really wanting next to Cade. Now, I know it's always sexier to see the Lamborghini. I know it's always sexier to see the sports car, the Porsche, something that can go 0 to 100 in, 4 seconds. That's always sexy, but those things rarely are applicable to everyday life. Those things rarely have a role when it comes to commuting to work or going to the grocery store, picking up the kids from school, right? And that's much of what the marathon of the NBA season is. It's running the same plays. It's doing the same things, very methodical, very intentional, very deliberate, and rudimentary. You need minivans and Volvos. You need Chryslers and Toyotas. You don't need the Porsche or the Corvette. Those things rarely are advantageous. Now, when you do need it in those very rare circumstances, it's dope to have, But when you think about the speed that Marcus Sasser can get to, I can't see that big of a difference in the moments of what Ivey is able to do from what Sasser might be able to do. Now, I know there are specific differences around size, length, and ability to finish over the rim. I get that. I totally get that. And there are times where you just need to out-athlete the other team, which Ivey does in spades. He's a wonderful, phenomenal athlete. But his reading of the game is what I'm kind of pointing at. And this is the silver lining, that Detroit may have found that person to be a long-term running mate next to Cade Cunningham. As Jalen Duren continues to evolve, as Asar Thompson continues to evolve, Asar Thompson had a plus 11, plus minus in this game coming off the bench while only taking one shot. That tells you what he's doing all over the court has far more of an impact than other guys who might be able to score more. You look at, once again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but Jaden Ivey had 17 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 35% from the field, took some really bad shots, and was a minus 23 in this game. Now, I know there's a big difference when you're starting versus coming off the bench and how the defense focuses in on you, especially when they know that you're a primary scoring option. And at the same time, a minus 23, that being the worst plus minus on the team. The second worst was Jalen Duren at minus 15. Duren's a couple years younger than Ivey, and he was only minus 15. See, when you think about, when I try to think about long-term trajectories of players, I try to think about who I can compare them to who had similar stats, similar beginnings of their career. And the closest thing that I can come to is a Russell Westbrook. He's not as athletic or explosive, but a very similar game, very reactive, very quick, twitchy, getting to the rim, except he can shoot far better than Russ ever could. But Russ, I think, was at his best when Oklahoma City was able to make the NBA Finals when he had a real point guard next to him in Derek Fisher to make all the heavy decisions. And so Russ can just remain in an attack mode. But when I think about what is needed for this team, I think Cade needs somebody with a little bit more ball control, a little bit more floor generalship. And Killian Hayes has that, but he just doesn't score. He's not a threat out there. And Marcus Sasser, well, the proof is in the pudding. Now, on top of that, I think there were some great signs from Asar Thompson. His defense, I watched it go from extremely intense on ball and off the ball defense, flying around everywhere. But he got to a point where he became a little bit out of control, picking up easy fouls and impacting the game in a negative, getting into his own head. And I think Coach Monty Williams had him back off a bit. Just be sound, be solid. But in this game, you saw him finally combine the two of being sound and solid and knowing when to ramp it up in moments and spurts, whether it was on Damian Lillard, whether it was playing against Giannis, whether it was playing against Chris Middleton, he could guard almost all 5 positions extremely well. And that versatility, once again, I mean, it's the reason why I think that he needs to be starting. I love Isaiah Stewart off the bench. I love him. I think we saw it clear as day. He is a backup center, and he is great in that role. He could be phenomenal. And I think that that's perfect for Jalen Duren, who really doesn't need to be playing 36 plus minutes a game. He needs to be somewhere between 28 and 32. It's where he keeps fouls down. I mean, he had 4 in this game against Milwaukee. He looked undersized, if we're honest, and probably would have done well next to somebody like a Asar Thompson, who could be a little bit more versatile. But he still put up 12 and 12. And I think that the progress that we're seeing from these players individually has to be not just exciting, but is definitely another silver lining of this team, that this team is consistently improving. And I know Monty Williams says, hey, I'm not here for moral victories. Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are here for moral victories. Your team is not expected to win a lot of games. You cannot hinge whether you are doing well or not on winning the game. And what's interesting is it seems almost like counterintuitive, because when he says that, he immediately goes into the things that you can be excited about and the moral victories, but he won't say it. I'll say it for him. It's a moral victory. Seeing what Sasser was doing, seeing what Thompson was doing, what Alec Burks continues to do, even though he struggled in this game offensively. Gallinari had some great minutes off the bench. I would not play Gallinari and Mike Muscala together. I just wouldn't do that. I think James Wiseman is a better pick, but if you have Isaiah Stewart coming off the bench, I would rather see you play Isaiah Stewart as the backup center, and then Danilo Gallinari. I love what he's bringing them as a veteran. And I still think that there's some more moves to make on this team, whether it's packaging a young guy to clear up some more playing time, and maybe a Mike Muscala in order to make more room for the rest of the guys, and bring in another veteran. I think that should be the move. But at the end of the day, this team is getting better. This team is getting better. There's no other way to put it. And for those who are frustrated or merely looking at the win-loss column as a predictor of if progress is being made, if Monty Williams is doing his job, then you're going to miss the boat. You're going to miss what's really taking place, because you should be encouraged by what you're seeing. As this team continues to get better and Cade Cunningham returns and they get their depth back and they start utilizing all their weapons more, and as the guys mature, I expect a great, and I mean a great, second half to the season. I think they're going to win more games. They're probably going to win about 8 to 10 games down the stretch. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think they're going to end up, not with the record that we want, but when we look at how they do down the stretch, we're going to go into the offseason saying, hey, we're right there. And right there meaning we're a jump away from, maybe a season away from being back in the play-in tournament, playoff push, right? But as always, I want to know what you all think. Do you agree about my assessment of Marcus Sasser, Asar Thompson, and the rest? Get at me in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'm out. Peace.